Welcome to the Self-Care Series COVID Edition podcast by Luminous and the New Mentality at Luminous. I am Madison and I'm here with Ella. On today's episode, we are going to talk about connecting during COVID and how to connect with people safely.
Yeah, I'm Bella, and I think that socializing was much easier before COVID because you had clubs to go to and you could meet people in person, or you could just go to school and meet people. Online school is definitely much harder to make friends and stuff. And feeling isolated is normal because we're all kind of just trapped in our homes and we don't really have many other places to go.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people are feeling that right now. A lot of the places where we have our normal, regular interactions where we socialize with, like you said, school or in the workforce or extracurriculars are like aren't there anymore. So a lot of people are definitely feeling lonely. So today we want to talk about some healthy ways to connect during COVID. Here's a checklist for some questions. So here's some questions you should take into consideration before deciding to meet someone. This is also going to be available in our resource, so check that out. Do you have any or have you been around someone with symptoms of COVID-19? For example, fever, cough, sore throat. You or other person you're seeing in person have regular contact with someone who is immunocompromised. For example, any underlying health conditions such as organ transplants, cancer patients, autoimmune diseases, elderly. Are you going to be wearing masks? Where will you be meeting? Will it be outside? Will you be able to socially distance from that other person? How long do you plan on spending with the other person? How many people are you planning to be with? How are you going to be getting to where you're going? For example, walking is a much lower risk than taking public transit because it can get crowded. Are you going to be meeting at a time at the place you're going to will be busy? For example, taking the subway at certain times of day versus rush hour when there's a lot of more people and physical social distancing isn't possible. Are you vaccinated? Is the person you're meeting vaccinated? How long has it been since you've received the vaccine? Considering it does take 2 weeks for the vaccine to take effect. Okay, yeah. I know a lot of us, and myself included, are experiencing COVID fatigue. What is this? This is when we feel drained from everything we have to deal with, when there's no interactions with anyone, and feeling tired from COVID, feeling it's never gonna end. There's a lot of physical and emotional aspects of it, and how you're feeling, and also any physical side effects. For example, sleeping too much or sleeping total or sleeping too little. It's really normal.
That is true. COVID fatigue is really tough, and I also have been feeling a lot of COVID fatigue. And it's really okay to feel however you are during this time because this time is very traumatic. So if you're feeling lonely or isolated or unhappy, that's okay. But it's also okay if you're doing okay. You shouldn't feel guilty about that or anything. Everything that you're going through is valid.
Definitely. It's okay to feel how you're feeling in this moment, whether you're fine and you're processing okay, or if COVID is impacting you a lot emotionally and physically. And it's just normal in general to feel isolated or unhappy or lonely, especially now, considering we are all living through basically a traumatic situation. And everyone processes it differently.
Yes, that's very true. And I find that online connecting with people is also just not as fun and engaging because you're not getting that face-to-face interaction that you usually do. And I also find that sometimes people like are super drained and don't want to like text me or like go on their phones and stuff, and I completely understand that, but that can definitely like contribute to isolation and feeling of loneliness. Now, if you have chosen to see people in person, there's a lot of things that you should probably like kind of just think about before doing it. And first, assess what's happening in your current situation. The assess what's happening in your current situation to make any decisions about what you should do. You could use the Swiss cheese analogy. Even if nothing is 100% safe, taking as many precautions as possible is a good idea. This is like stacking layers of Swiss cheese on top of each other, and this will cover up more holes. It's important to think of not just yourself, but anyone else you might be having regular contact with.
For sure. It's definitely important to consider who you're interacting with, the level of risk you socializing poses to them and to yourself. For example, if you're socializing with in person with people who are older, people with health conditions, it's really important to consider what level of risk you and they are willing to accept. And like the Swiss cheese analogy, there's a lot of different measures and precautions you can take. It's not just a good idea to take just one precaution. It's good to stack up on several of them. For example, getting your vaccine, or wearing a mask, or indoors, or with a lot of people, and social distancing, or socializing outside, are a lot of good precautions you can take if you do choose to see someone in person.
Yeah, that's very true. Social distancing and wearing masks are very important. And it's also good to meet outside because that lowers transmission rates of and if you're connecting with people virtually, there's lots of other options that you can do too. If you don't feel comfortable going outside and connecting with people like in person, and you can text and FaceTime friends, which like for me it can kind of be difficult because like some people are like kind of distant and just drained from that. So like if you feel like you're too drained to like interact and text people, then that's completely valid, and you can just take your time to like focus on yourself. So it's just something that you could do if you want to. You could also try Netflix Party. I've tried it before and it's really fun. And you can download it as an extension on your Chrome browser. And this way you can like watch Netflix with people.
For sure, there's so many different ways of connecting people online. But like anyone in this pandemic, doing the same things over and over again online can get a little tedious. So I definitely recommend switching it up if you do feel COVID fatigue and like you're bored of always doing the same thing, socializing the same way online all the time. Switching it up, doing different online activities, or like having certain things in rotation. But yeah, it is harder to connect online as you have to put way more. I personally find you have to put way more effort into connecting online, because if you see someone in person, there's no more effort into socializing with someone once you're already with them. I feel like when it's online, you have to make an effort to reach out and plan things and be like, oh,
yeah, that's very
online.
I 100% agree with that. And I find that like from other people's like views, like this is what like other people have told me. They've said that like it's just super draining for them and they can't really put in the effort because they just kind of get overwhelmed and trapped in their own stuff, and they're kind of just too tired to like respond to people's texts. And then for me, I find that like I kind of get super annoyed with having to like put in all the effort and like reach out to people because like a lot of my friends are distancing themselves. So I've like kind of also began distancing myself as well because I've gotten like mad at them for not, reaching out to me, and it always having to be me to reach out. So there can be a lot of issues and difficulties with connecting with people online. And that's why as I said before, it's really okay to take time for yourself and just like know that this will pass and that you'll be able to meet people in person soon because this won't be permanent.
Yeah, for sure. It's important to note that yeah, COVID is a temporary, or it's been lasting for a couple of years now, but this is all temporary, and sooner or later, life will be back to normal. And honestly, I've talked to a lot of people about this, but some people are scared of going back to normal because like we're so used to like, oh, like this is how we're gonna connect people now. We're like talking online, like going back to normal and like having to socialize in person like all the time constantly. Because I know a lot of people like are used to like how it is now.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I agree with that. I'm kind of scared that when things go back to normal, uh, everything will kind of stay the same and people won't socialize in person. But I guess it's easier to just not think about that because you never know like what the future will hold. And if that does end up happening, then you can always just keep focusing on self-care or reaching out to like people that if you need help with anything.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's also other resources that you can like go to, such as like the studio at Luminous, which is a drop-in program, and it's very accessible, and you have no obligation to keep camera on or talk using your microphone. And like maybe that would be easier for some people because then they don't have to text people and like put in an effort to like connect with them. You can kind of just go to like a social group and just leave whenever you want and have feel no obligation to keep putting in effort.
Oh yes, for sure. The studio at Luminous is a great way to connect with people. Um, there's also a lot of programming for queer youth at the studio. Um, yeah. Personally, something I like to do is just like I'm like always on FaceTime all the time, um, talking to people. I like play a little online games with my friends, like Minecraft. Um, and there's like some like online games you can do, like Jackbox, Spyfall, Among Us, Scribblio,
Yeah,
or like
Among Us.
online escape rooms. I know a lot of people like to play Among Us.
Yeah, Among Us is definitely a great one. Those are all great ideas. You can also just listen to music together. You can like create a Spotify playlist for one of your friends, or you could just like collaborate and like make playlists together. And there's also a Music League app that you could check out.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I've actually been doing a lot recently is like when I feel drained and like me and my friends like don't really want to like socialize, but we just want to be in like same like space together. We'll like go on a Zoom call and we'll just like play like a Spotify collaboration playlist. Well, we don't really talk to each other. We'll just like chat in the chat box like occasionally, but we'll just be like vibing and doing our own thing, like listening to the same music at the same time. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. Something that you could definitely try out if you feel up for it.
yeah, because I feel like it's a way less pressure than like, or sometimes like some online ways of socializing are like, I feel what the advantage is that you don't have to be as engaged. Like,
Yeah, that's very true. I also find for me personally that it's a lot easier to like reach out to people. Like for example, when I've attended different like online groups, I found it much easier because like I don't really have the same sort of social anxiety when it's online and I don't kind of overthink things because you can just like text people in the Zoom chat or something. And so I find that takes a lot of the pressure off.
yeah, for sure. Oh,
Well, in conclusion, we've explored some different ways to connect, even if you don't see people in person right now. It's totally valid to feel drained and isolated, and it's okay if you want to spend time taking care of yourself. Even if it feels like this is going to go on forever, it's only temporary, and there will be chances to socialize in person again in the future. So don't worry. And thanks.
yeah, for sure. Always take care of yourself first.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed.